What's up, everyone? This is BigPowner. I'm going to now teach you some of the basic knowledge. A lot of it you're going to have to learn through experience or through your own searches and stuff like that, because I'm not going to go over every single base in the entire game and influences and all of that stuff. First of all, it wouldn't be efficient. And second of all, you can just as easily, if you have a question about an item, you can just Google search it and see a list. I believe I've already said that. But moving on from there, this this video is going to help you to start tying things in, and it's also going to give you knowledge about things that are valuable. I'm going to tell you what's I don't think it's really a secret, but it might be a secret to some people. The biggest drop, and I've said this before, is not an exalted orb. Obviously like a Mirror Calandra, but there's people that have played this game since the game came out and have never seen one drop. So banking on something that most players will never see actually drop in a map is not a viable thing to be thinking about. In general, the biggest drops that you can get are really good items. This would be completely counterintuitive if you were to be like, I'm gonna check every item because he said, there's items worth more than an exalted orb. In order for an item to actually wind up being worth a ton of currency, there's a lot of factors that come into play. One of the biggest factors is what the base of that item is. Something you have to understand is really early in the game, it is the easiest time in general to make currency, because I've said this before also, no one has anything. So anything with decent rolls, you're probably going to get something out of it. But once you get out of those first few weeks, it kind of changes. Obviously, earlier in the season, people will still buy less, close to perfect gear. Um, and perfect gear or close to perfect gear is always going to be super expensive. And the thing is that's one variable. If you get something that's a top tier base and it is perfect, if it is perfect, that's a mirror. Like, that's a mirror. Um, just plain and simple. Like, if I were to get, gripped gloves, fingerless silk gloves, and it has triple resistances, all tier 1, level 48, tier 1 energy shield, tier 1 increased energy shield, um, and something else depending on the base. If it was gripped gloves, it would be like tier 1 life, tier 1 dual life mod, and those three things. That is literally a mirror item, and I don't mean you sell it for a mirror. I mean people will pay you to let you mirror it for them. So like way more valuable than even a mirror. That's something important to know, but most likely you ain't gonna see an item like that. But things that get close to that aren't perfect. Maybe just have triple resistances and those stats, and maybe some of them are tier 1, and maybe some of them are like tier 2, tier 3. That's a really, really expensive item if it's on a top tier base. Like, I'm talking like 10 plus exalts. I'll give you an example. All right, this right here. You might look at this, or a lot of people would look at this if they don't have knowledge, and they'd be like, why is that, 15 exalts? And, you know, the let's see where it's actually pricing this. Um, it was estimating 10 to 15 exalts. Why would it be worth that much? It's got triple resistance rolls and it's tier 1 life, tier 1 dual energy shield, and then a crafted on near perfect craft energy shield. What's really needed this season? It's defensive stats. Like, people are building their characters way more defensive than in like any season ever before. Why? Because stuff hits a lot harder. It's easier to die. So really tanky items are, going to sell for more. If I actually really wanted to sell this item, I would actually price it lower. But I don't really want to sell it because I'm going to use it for one of my builds. So I have it in a sale tab. If someone wants to actually pay top price for it, I will sell it. But I have it priced high because I'm not really that inclined to sell it. So moving on from that, I mean, and obviously this one has, less than, it's got really good HP and energy shield and stuff like that, but it's got a tier 3 cold resistance, tier 4 cold lightning resistance, a tier 6 all resistance. If those were like tier 2, or even just if all of them were like tier 3 and had all rolled over 40%, that item would be like, double that value, and it would like definitely sell. Um, So that's an example of like a really big drop. So obviously, why would I pick this up? It's because it's a it's one of the most desirable bases. And if you want to learn what desirable bases are, PoE Ninja is something that I use to keep track of market trends. As far as bases, if you want to start learning bases, you're going to want to go to the currency market, and then you're just going to go down to where's bases, base types, and then you can just look at what the most expensive stuff in the game is. All of the top stuff is going to be an influence item. It's going to be some level redeemer, shaper, elder, crusader, hunter, all of that stuff. But obviously, if the most expensive item is a influenced version of one of those items, that means that that base is probably very desirable. This is an easy way to be like, oh, all right, Steigen Weiss is the top 3 most expensive bases of Redeemer, Shaper, or Elder. Titanium Spirit Shield Shaper is the 4th most expensive item. So obviously people are interested in the Spirit Shield because it ain't any other base shaper that's the top pick. Um, Steigen Weiss is once again Hunter. Hunter 86 is 5.4 exalts. Then you have Bone Helm, Astral Plate, Fingerless Silk Gloves, Crystal Belt, Spiked Gloves. These are all things that you want to be IDing. We have Vermilion Ring. All of these top listed bases are things that you will want to pick up an ID. And basically, these top tier things are going to be the only things you want to ID. I'm going to give you a little breakdown. There's like, there's like, there's only like 3 belts that I will always pick up. 1, Steigen Weiss. 2, Crystal Belt. 3, Vanguard. Those are the only belts that I'm going to pick up every time they drop, and I'm going to ID them and see if they got good stats on them. Any other belt, earlier in the season, yes. If it's a shaper, elder, if it's an influence item, yeah, I'm gonna pick it up and ID it. Um, Maybe not like bottom tier stuff, like really low tier stuff, because then even if you get really good rolls, it's probably not going to sell. But you'll learn that as you, sorry, as you get more experienced. So focus on picking up bases and the best versions of each item. I'm gonna give you a big tip. Chess pieces, like blues, yellows. The only time I pick those up is outside of maybe the very beginning of the season when I'm looking for, anything better to wear. I'm not picking up any of that stuff unless it's got 6 sockets so I can sell it for jewelers, orbs. It's got an influence on it, or it's a unique that is valuable. You can use that same site. You can see what the most valuable stuff is. You ain't got to learn everything that's on there. We ain't concerned about stuff that's worth 30, 40 chaos. You can look at the top stuff, top 20 stuff. All right, at Zeri's Reflection, that's 20 exalts. Eternity Shroud, that's 15 exalts. Maloney's Mechanism, that's 9.5 exalts. Acuity 7, Feral's Fur 7. All right, well, I know some things that are, worth a lot of currency. And that stuff's going to change every season. There are like a few items that are always really expensive. Like Atziri's Reflection is always expensive. Um, it's not Atziri's. There's 2 Atziri's. The one that's really expensive is the Atziri's Reflection. So don't get super excited when you see one falling. a map, and it's really the cheap version that's probably like a chaos or something like that. Um, it looks the same, pretty much. Well, it does look the same. Um, Pharaoh's Fur is pretty much always expensive. Attorney Shroud's pretty much always expensive. Two Socket Tomb Fists are always expensive. They're actually the cheapest this season that I've ever seen them. Um, I think Shavron's Rops is surprisingly low, 1.5 EX. Um, but yeah, so knowing some of that stuff is a good thing to know. Um, the next thing, I've touched on this before, pay attention to what's popular. Even if I know a popular video is uh, making suggestions that I have absolutely no interest in taking part in the build, and because there's a popular video about it, I'm definitely not going to do a build that I'm even if I'm on the wall about a build, like maybe I want to try playing this. If it's a super popular guide, I definitely ain't going to play it because everything's going to be inflated. It's going to be way more expensive for me to pick up gear. So, but if it's really popular and a lot of people are playing it, I'm probably gonna skip through the stuff and see what the or look for the item selections, like what they suggested as items, because those items are gonna be really valuable. Um, that's a good way to. That's how I, in past seasons, started learning how to make currency, was being aware of what was really popular. I mean, like in Legion League, it was like the Cyclone, so it was all like Cyclone weapons. Like every time an Exquisite Blade dropped, I was checking that. Um, there's a lot of there's a lot of items that were just like crazy prices because it was like 70% of the community was playing Cyclone. Like the Vol axes, the Exquisite Blade, and then towards the end of the season it became jeweled foils. Those are a couple things I always pick up. Jeweled foils have always been popular. As far as foils, that's the one that you always want to pick up in ID. There's always the chance that it's going to wind up having some crazy rolls and you're going to pick up a 10, 20, 30 exalt item. It's most likely not going to happen, but it's a possibility and, it's worth me picking up and checking. Um, Exquisite blades aren't as popular. It's still a top tier sword base. Short bows, not short bows, thicket bows. Those are always going to be worth checking. This is a good example of something to check. So you see the Takati. These will wind up. You should have your loot filter at this point. It's going to highlight something like this as it drops, and it's going to be ID'd. Takati, Topotantes, like they're dual mods that can do some pretty crazy stuff. And if they come along with also having good rolls, you could wind up with a really crazy weapon that could be worth a lot. Because obviously, like this one, the Takatis is adding 159 to 169 physical damage, and it's also giving me 10% extra physical damage as extra chaos damage. So that's obviously a really powerful stat. Like, and that's just on there. But the thing with these items is it pretty much has to drop with good rolls, or the item's not going to be that good, but they're worth checking. And they drop glove versions. Like I picked up a glove version in that metamorph videos that I sold within like an hour for 4 exalts. So I mean, there are some that have really good mods, and if they drop with decent stuff, they'll be really desirable because it's like having a whole extra stat on the item. So if the mods are good, it's like kind of like having a 7 mod weapon, or a 7 mod weapon, or 7 mod um, glove, boot, whatever. So those are worth looking at. And I believe I've already told you, but I'm just gonna say it again because um, I might not have. The last video, I was struggling. I had to stop a few times due to my sickness. Um, so you'll see when I look at this and I hit Alt, it brings up, it tells me the prefix and it tells me the tier. This is not a standard thing that goes on. You're going to want to scroll all the way down, and then just a little bit up, there's advanced mod descriptions. You're going to want to click that. If I don't have that clicked, look at what I see. It's just the raw stats. This doesn't give you very much information. So you're going to want to select advanced mod description, and it's going to tell you all the stuff about it. It's going to let you know what tier it is. Tier 1 on natural rolled stuff is going to be the best stuff. With crafted stuff, it goes up. Like it says rank instead of tier. So tier 1 is the best tier. Rank, the higher it gets, is better for crafted mods. It's tiers and ranks. Tiers are what come on the item naturally. Ranks are what go with crafted on stuff. So crafted on stuff, you want a higher number. Um, Drop stuff, you want the lowest number. That's pretty simple. So this is also going to cover crafting because crafting can make you a lot of extra currency, but it's not going to be the type of crafting that you're thinking. Um, when I say crafting for currency, you're probably thinking one of those clickbait videos that are like, craft this and you'll make so much currency. Go out and buy these really expensive fossils and watch me do it one time. And now this bow is worth 20 exalts and someone's going to buy it right away. That's bullshit. If it's that easy to make and it only takes, 2 exalts to make it, no one's going to spend 20 exalts on it. There's other factors involved with it. Yes, maybe using a fossil craft can produce a 20, 30, 40 exalt bow. But is that guaranteed? No. If it was guaranteed, it wouldn't be worth that much because, people would be able to just guaranteed get that stuff. Bad crafting is when you are gambling to hopefully get something good on a small margin, and then hopefully someone will pay, a large sum for it. That's bad gambling because if I'm investing a lot, hoping I get lucky and basically hit a jackpot, and then I'm hoping that someone's going to pay me a lot for it. That's a lot of hoping and gambling. That's not a effective method of generating currency. There's another reason why when someone does one of those videos, and why I will call them clickbait, and they are clickbait, when someone goes, craft this item, you can make so much currency. Well, what's going to happen? Anyone who believes that is then going to go do that. And what's going to happen? Say you do it and you happen to hit a really good roll. Well, now you got to think, say it's like one of the most popular streamers, and they've got 20,000 views on their stream, and maybe they have like I don't know, like let's say only like 2% of the people are like completely believe the stuff they say, and they're gonna go out and do it. So there's 1,000 other people that went and did that same thing, and they're crafting the same items because they listened to that streamer. What do you think is going to happen to those items when all of a sudden 1,000 people start crafting them? They're going to plummet in price, and the only ones that are going to sell are the ones that are priced cheaply and have the best stats. And you're basically hoping that you get really good rolls, and not that you just get really good rolls, but your rolls and your price are going to have to be better than everyone else who's doing it. This is a very stupid way to try and get currency. So don't do it. What is a smart scenario for crafting and possibly crafting that is chance or luck based? What is a good um, method for doing that? The only way that I would say is a good method is this. Say you're in my situation where I have these gloves and these are my worst item by a really long shot. There's two stats on there that are basically doing nothing for me. I need more HP. I can't lose the chaos resistance though. And the cold resistance helping me, the physical damage is tier 1. I basically want the stats in general to get better, and I want two more stats to be something usable. But there is no gloves on the market that match my needs. Um, Basically, there's nothing on the market that has the stats I need that is better than what I already have. If I have the currency to try to upgrade, and I'm going to do that, I'm going to wind up doing that anyways. And I know I'm gambling. I'm basically hoping that I'm going to get a better item for myself. What's most likely going to happen though? In the grand scheme of things, when I try to, let's say I'm chaos spamming this, or I'm scour alking it, which is basically like I'm just throwing random rolls on it and hoping that I hit what I need. What is more than likely going to be my first good roll? It's probably going to be a bunch of stuff I don't need. But this is where you can kind of save yourself a little bit when you're investing a shit ton of currency trying to roll something for yourself. So say I get a base and I start hitting it and I roll, like 200 chaos into it. So I'm like an exalt and a third, exalt and a fourth into trying to get my item. And I wind up hitting something really good. Am I going to then take, say it's worth an exalt, and I've got an exalt and a half invested, but the base is like a chaos. So now I have an item that is worth an exalt, and I can quickly sell for an exalt. What I need to do is then put that in my stash tab for an exalt, and then if I still have currency that I'm going to invest in trying to roll my item, I'm going to keep doing that with a different base. The reason why you are going to do that is because what happens if I continue rolling on that base? That base that I had that was probably desirable for another person and someone would have bought, and I would have gotten one of my exalts back, I've now completely reset that item. I've lost that currency basically. This is a smart method when you are trying to roll items for yourself to, you know, try to save yourself some currency, or you could possibly wind up hitting something. It's a possibility. Possibility. It's a possibility you could hit something really crazy and you could wind up actually making currency doing this. Um, but that's not something you bank on. But if I'm going to be trying to roll, if that's my only option to try and get the gear I need, and I'm willing to go into it realistically, like, I could spend all of this currency and get nothing back out of it. Am I okay with, you know, using X amount of currency and getting nothing back? Obviously, I want a good outcome, but you have to be realistic. There's a very good chance I'm going to roll like I did yesterday, five exalts into an item, and I'm not going to have anything to show for it. That's a possibility. Have I tried to roll items and I wound up with something more valuable than what I spent? Yes, even this season. Um, I think I don't know. Maybe I like profited like four exalts on one item when I was trying to make my belt. I think I also did a boots, but I actually used the boots originally and then I sold them. But I needed chaos resistance. Um, Boots are another thing that I can't find a replacement for because I've got 42 chaos resistance on this and I have 25 increased movement speed. I would like to have the increased rarity replaced and have a better life mod, but I can't find that item that also has this much chaos resistance and a good movement speed roll. Once again, my only choice for this, with the stuff that's currently on the market, is for me to try to roll it, which I have done unsuccessfully, obviously, because I'm still wearing these. But, I've got a lot of currency and I really need to upgrade those two slots because, on this slot, I could have another 56 max life, which, with my like 200% increased life, that would be like 168 more HP, which that's, a lot of HP. Um, that would be a nice increase. And if I did it on this too, I'd have another 300 or 400 HP, which that would be putting me close to 6,000 HP, which that would make me really tanky with my damage reduction. So that's kind of how you do it. The other thing that is the cheapest investment, and going back to the business mindset, we have to think about what we're investing to try to make more currency. So I'm going to use these two rings as an example. They aren't like baller items. These are not like multi-exalt items. But this one right here is its estimated value. You guys can't see it, but it is 73 to 110 chaos. But what does it have? It has a open prefix and it has an open suffix. So, what can I do to make this item more valuable? And not just more valuable, but more apt to actually sell. I can add max life to it. You can use common reasoning to determine what it is that's going to be good to put on an item. Why would someone want this ring? It's got an implicit, which is that top stat, implicit modifier. And if you have on the extra descriptions, like I told you at the earlier in the video to put on, you're going to know that that's an implicit modifier. It's got two prefixes on it. It's got two suffixes. Obviously, if someone's buying this ring, they really want more HP. And what does this ring not have? It doesn't have HP. So I'm going to throw HP on it. Bam. I got a bad roll because that's kind of on the low end. And I'm going to tell you why. Normally, if you think it's going to be worthwhile, like if you think the item's going to sell, it's worthwhile to, on HP rolls, to get it to the next rounded number. 50 HP is a good point to try and get it. I mean, trying to roll it perfect, then you're going to be investing a lot more. It's kind of like the how much resources am I spending and how much am I expecting to gain. But to give you an idea on this ring, it was 73 to what, 110 before? Now it is 85 to 128. So I spent two alchemy orbs, got a bad roll, and it's increased 7 to like 10 chaos. But more than that, what this also does, it may not have given it a crazy increase, but if I get it over 50, it will give it a bigger increase. And this is the reason why. The way that searching for items works, what is it that someone's going to do when they're looking for a ring? They're going to type in the things that are most important to them. This item has some good features. It has intelligence, it has a tier 1 physical damage, and it has the implicit, and then it's got some cold resistance and some evasion. Not the best rolls, but that's the reason why it's only like 80 something to like 130 now. The thing is, as someone who is looking for a ring like this, probably one of the things that they're going to type in the search bar is that they want the item to have max HP, and they're probably going to have a set number. And that's why having this at 50 is going to give you a chance to have more people that will possibly view it by their searching system, which because the absolute max you can have on it is 79 with the natural T1 roll at 100%. No one's gonna, well, no one's that smart is going to search on PoE for max life 79% because even most items that are tier 1 are not going to also be tier 1 with, the max roll. So people will do them in increments. Tier 1 would be 70, tier 2 would be 60, tier 3 would be 50. So someone that's looking for this and is not looking to spend, 4 or 5 exalts on their ring is probably going to put in 40 or 50. More people are probably going to be hoping to get one with at least 50. And what could I do? For a few more alchemies, I could get this to 50. It's not that hard of a roll. It's 41 to 55. So I have to get it a little bit in the upper hand range. But it's reasonable. Now, am I necessarily going to be like, I'm doing that so that instead of selling it for 78 to 118, I'm gonna try and get the hundred and what is it again? Let's see, the max of 128. Hell no. I just want it to sell because, like I said, I'm gonna price it on the low end. So what was it before? It was 78. So I'm gonna kind of put it on the difference of the bottom end, and I will put this up for 80 chaos. I could even do it at 70. Yeah, I'm gonna do it at 70 because I want it to sell. It's not a big ticket item. I don't want it to sit in my inventory. I want it to make me something because it's over my throwaway range of below 50. Um, but it's not a big item, so I don't want to sit on it. I just want it to get sold. because items like that devalue over time. Near perfect rolled items increase in value over time. So this is another one. I actually don't have any more alchemies, but this is going to bring me to another point. So you're probably wondering, in the last video I told you to save up um, your metamorph encounters, save up your blight maps, assuming that you are comfortable doing your metamorphs and your blight maps with the gear that you're in. I'm at a place right now where I'm like, I just ran out of alchemies. And, I specifically did this for this video. But I'm like, I'm out of alchemies. I need some alchemies to continue my maps or to do whatever. But hey, you know, I've got a bunch of these metamorphs, and I've got enough to go do a set. I could go do a set of metamorphs. I'm gonna get some alchemies. I can do that instead of going and trading because it's not like I need um, 200 alchemies. I mean, if you do, it's possible you're trying to perfect roll like a 70 HP roll, and it's 4 per roll, and you absolutely want it to be perfect because you're planning on keeping that piece of gear. Like that's something you could do. I mean, like these, because I'm wearing them and I'm using them, I'm perfect rolling the stats. Like this, I had planned to get rid of, but I should probably go ahead and perfect roll it to 70 because I've been using it for so long. So, right now, I should probably go run some metamorphs. I'm not going to do this on this video because these videos have been getting kind of long. I am trying to pack in a ton of information, but I'm not going to put gameplay in here. This is pretty much my point, giving you ideas on the crafts that are going to actually increase the value of your items and make them more apt to sell and kind of give you an idea of what makes an item sell. Which, you have to think, what is someone searching for? And you can put yourself in their shoes. Obviously, being able to apply this knowledge as you gain more knowledge is going to make it so you can generate more currency. For me, the reason why I can generate so much currency is because I've played so many builds. I know the things that are really good for a build, even if they're not popular at the time. I know that there's going to be a lot of players in a popular build that are eventually going to figure out, hey, this item is really strong. So if I have an item like that that's really strong and the market price is really low, and I know that, there's 20% of the community playing a build, I'm gonna price that item higher than market value, and I'm gonna let it, I'm gonna let people realize it's a really good item, and then give me my actual value for it if it's a, really expensive item. Which, in one of those kinds of cases, you have to do reward at the time versus what you expect to make in the long run, because currency does devalue as the season goes on. And obviously, if you have currency to put to work, say you're like struggling for gear, I'll sell stuff early season that I would never sell later in the season. Like I sold a near perfect hubris circlet um, for I don't know. I think it was like 3x alts, like early in the season. But I really needed the currency. If that had dropped, even like 3 or 4 days later, I never would have sold that item. I would have just kept it because you don't see those items very often. And outside of the very early part of the season, you would be spending, you know, an exorbitant amount for it. And I like to collect stuff like that, even if I don't take it out of my remove only bin. Eventually, one day, I might mess around with all of the crazy stuff I've collected and create like a metamorph standard character. Anyways, I hope this helps you guys. Oh, I was gonna go over these real quick. I told you the belts, crystal belt. I went over some of this stuff, but I'll just resell it. Steigen belt, crystal belt. And there was one other thing I want to say: Steigen belt, crystal belt, Vanguard. Another thing that you want to do is implicits. Something else that can increase the value of an item. It is very cheap to do. I've actually burned all my blessed orbs, but these are like one of the cheapest things in the game. Um, which is another cheap thing that you can do to an item to make it more valuable. Let me tell you what they're worth right now. But normally a bunch of them drop. I just got really unlucky with perfect rolling a few items. Blessed orbs are 12 to 1 chaos. So if you have an item that it already says is valuable, and this isn't a terrible roll, but it's at 15 out of 16. So say this item was worth like, 2 exalts. Am I going to take a few extra blessed orbs to make that top stat perfect? Of course I am, because it's going to make it more appealing, and I'm investing hardly nothing to try to make a large profit. And I'm especially going to re-roll it. Say this ring is at 12%, the very bottom of the roll. If I'm going to be selling the item, I definitely ain't going to put it on there with the worst possible implicit roll, because that might actually get it removed from some people's search engine. So implicits are something you should pay attention to. But that being said, there are some implicits that are really hard to roll perfect. The Vanguard belt, for instance. You see how I have this one out of 319 out of 320? I didn't try to get this perfect, and there's a reason why. Because how many possible things can it roll? It's got 60 different things that it can roll. Could I wind up sitting here and spam, 100, 200 blessed orbs and never hit that? Yeah, that could happen to me. So 319 out of 320 possible, that's a pretty good roll. And something close to that, depending on the value of the item. This one's an exalt, so if I spent 100, um, if I spent 100 blessed orbs, that would basically be like losing like 8% of my potential earnings on it. I'm not going to do that. If it was like, a perfect rolled item I'm trying to sell for, 40 exalts, then yeah, I might try to make it perfect. But outside of that, something like this, same thing with Crystal Belt. Crystal Belt has a really big range. Also, I think it's what, 40 to 80. I don't know if I have a Crystal Belt. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, 80. So I perfect rolled it. Oh no, it's 20. I perfect rolled this one because I'm looking for. Actually, this is probably now underpriced. Because I'm looking for a really good amount of currency on this. These are like old stash tabs. So I like move forward. But this is a valuable item because it's got tier 2 life, tier 2 max energy shield. I've got extra energy shield on there with perfect energy shield. It's adding 81 HP and it's adding 145 energy shield. Like, it's a super defensive item. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps you. I keep on forgetting to finish what I was saying. I already explained about the chests, gloves, the three biggest ones, and I've told you how to figure out, if you want to learn more about the market and what's valuable. But I'm going to give you the top things: gripped gloves, spiked gloves, fingerless silk gloves, Vanguard belt for belts, Vanguard belt, Steigenweiss crystal belt. For boots, two-tone boots are like always really popular, and they're really good for you to be using because they come with dual stats, but they have the implicit of 12 to 2 of your resistances, which that's really important. That's an extra 24 total to your resistances in an implicit modifier. That's really nice. um, Honestly, that you can pick up the other top tier boots, but I normally don't. So I mean, if you want to start doing that, amulets and rings, your loot filter should be showing you what is the most important to pick up. Um, uh, Early in the season, like an iron ring is okay to pick up because it's, early in the season, people are willing to sell for an iron ring. But as you get later on in the season, that's basically like the low tier version of a steel ring. You always want to pick up steel rings. You always want to pick up opal rings. You always want to pick up two stone rings. Those are top tier ones. You always want to be picking up the vermilion ring. Those are really inflated this season. Obviously, anything with good defensive stats is kind of inflated this season. Um, yeah. Helm's Hubris Circlet is really popular this season because Energy Shield is really popular. Um, the Lion Pelt, it's the top tier evasion base, but honestly, most people are looking for the influence ones. Influence items you pretty much always want to pick up and check. Um, and that pretty much covers the basics of all of it. Um, the stuff past that is, as far as this type of stuff is, you're gonna kind of have to learn it with experience. And that's why, I've said, someone asked, they're like, how do I start making what you're making? And I was realistic with them. I can guarantee that if you follow this stuff, you're gonna make a lot more currency. I can't guarantee that you're gonna immediately start making the same amount as me. The reason why is because you don't have the knowledge that I have. I don't know how good you are at gaming. I don't know how quickly you pick stuff up. I don't know how fast your reflexes are. I don't know how well you can stay concentrated during your gaming time on the things that I'm telling you to do. Like, there's so many factors. I mean, if a bunch of people see this video, there's probably gonna be someone that takes my methods and starts making more currency than me, because they could have better reflexes. They could, they could have advantages that I don't have, and I'm sharing my advantages with you guys. Which my advantage is, I really like to break down and figure stuff out and crunch numbers, and you guys are getting the benefit of all that information. That's my strength. That's how I've always done good at gaming. That's what I do. That's what I like to do, and then I like to share that information. But there's obviously going to be people out there that are better than me at other things, and they're going to take my information and apply it, and they're probably going to do better than me with practice. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope that you guys start seeing some serious returns using these methods. Um, Let me know your experience. I mean, I would like to hear positive experiences, or if there are those people that are like, I'm not making currency doing this, which I really don't think that that's going to happen. I'm going to probably tell you you're not listening to what it is that I'm telling you to do, because if you consistently follow the stuff I'm doing, it will work. Anyways, peace out, guys.